If I had to describe Doom Patrol in one word, it'd be... Yep, there we go. It isn't just unconventional, it laughs in the face of traditional superhero stories. Which is no surprise, it was penned by the one and only...
One of the best techniques and one of the easiest techniques to prove that this thing works is to practice sigil magic.
The Doom Patrol has an extensive history, dating all the way back to the 60s as a kind of contemporary to the X-Men. But that all changed when Grant Morrison took over the title in 1989. While they upheld the promise of exploring the world's strangest superheroes, Morrison's run began tapping into something far more introspective, reframing the team as a dysfunctional family who learn to lean on each other while battling the strange and impossible. There's always been something timeless about Morrison's Doom Patrol, which is why 30 years after its release, it finally got the adaptation it so rightly deserved. While it's no easy feat to match the absolute chaos that Morrison's stories are famous for, the show manages to pull this off with ease. There is so much of this show to be thankful for, from its amazing cast, to its gorgeous cinematography, to its wild, masterfully shifting tone. But for me, none of this works without the heart that Doom Patrol builds itself around. True to Morrisonian form, Doom Patrol doesn't just launch its weirdness at viewers, but encourages them to look deeper into what it all means. With every new cosmic oddity we're exposed to in the show, the more we're encouraged to ask ourselves, what is normal? Is it a standard, a default, how things should be? Or is it a definition that's reductive, that imposes a way of thinking onto a world that's bigger and more vibrant than anyone could hope to comprehend? Over the course of the series, we see these characters learn to find community in one another, come to terms with who they are, and embrace an incredibly important lesson. There is no normal. Hey everybody, some details before I start. This video is a part of Praise Patrol, a collab where some great fellow creators pick a moment, character, or story from Doom Patrol, analyze why we love it so much, and thank the cast and crew who made it possible. Be sure to check out the other videos, and, if you want, make your own, tweet it to Critical Rants on Twitter, and we'll add it to the playlist.
Finally! A superhero team I can actually get behind.
Doom Patrol wastes no time in building its message, introducing viewers to Cliff Steele, a race car driver who's saved from certain death, but at a terrible cost. From the moment Cliff opens his eyes in Doom Manor, he and the viewer know that something's not normal. The limited camera movement in the scene makes it feel like Cliff is trapped inside his own body, a feeling that's made crushingly worse when he finds out the truth.
What's that? Oh my god!
While it gives him a second chance at life, Cliff's new body deprives him of any physical sensation. He may learn to walk again, but he can't enjoy that movement. He can't enjoy food, or even the feeling of air. As he spends more time in his new body, Cliff learns what it means to have a physical disability. His old life, his old sense of normal, is gone, and he can't get it back, no matter how hard he tries.
Anything?
For most of the series, Cliff resents his new body and hides from his daughter out of the fear that she might reject him in this state. But as he follows the Doom Patrol through their struggles, Cliff learns to accept and even embrace his new body, finally working up the courage to reconnect with his daughter. Cliff may never recover his old life, but alongside his found family, he's able to build something new, and even love it, warts and all. While Cliff's arc primarily deals with him coming to terms with his new body, the group's other cyborg, Victor Stone, has an entirely different set of problems. As an established hero, Vic's already had time to come to terms with his new life and prosthetics. Most of this trajectory can be traced to Vic's father Silas, who builds and maintains his cybernetics. While at first Silas seems like a well-meaning helicopter parent, his interactions with the team and Vic take on a more dismissive tone as the show goes on, hinting that Silas isn't the supportive father figure he projects.
You've been here a day. You're covered in slime, palling around with a bunch of inept circus freaks. Vic, you get your act together, I will upgrade you.
This dynamic is fleshed out even further when it's revealed that Silas has been adding protective parameters into Vic's programming, effectively taking away his autonomy and isolating him from other people. Like many parents processing their child's disability, Silas wants Vic to feel as normal as anyone else. But instead of empowering, this tactic saps Vic of his agency and leaves him questioning how much of his identity is genuinely his. It's only when Vic asserts boundaries with his father and joins the Doom Patrol that he finds a kind of self-assurance.
Booyah.
Finally free of the image his father's constructed for him, Vic has become his own brand of hero. When it comes to image though, there's no better character to explore than Rita Farr. As a movie actress in the 50s, Rita's conventional beauty shaped her entire identity from childhood, making her callous and hostile towards anything she deemed abnormal.
Rita, please, he's the best focus puller in Africa.
He's an eyesore, Charles, a real liability.
What if we cover up the arm? A different set of clothes?
Get rid of him.
But the crew, they adore him.
So put his name on the marquee.
Rita's image obsession runs deep, but it's challenged when she's exposed to a gas that alters her cells, making her stretch and deform. Before her accident, Rita was commanding and self-assured, but when her normality is threatened, she struggles with finding her place in the world around her. She tries again and again to reclaim her old life, only to realize that time's moved on, and she's been forgotten.
And then there was that African picture. Forbidden Congo. Forbidden Dookie. Oh, come on. I heard she fell ill. They replaced her mid-picture. She was a drunk.
The pain Rita feels from the loss of her normal life keeps her in a constant fear for most of Season 1, often putting her at odds with the team who try to take a more active approach to things. Rita's anxieties even manifest as a kind of internalized ableism, with her asserting that her elastic form is a punishment that she's brought upon herself.
The person who is sick of having creepy baby imagery shoved in her face is me. The person who is sick of being judged is me. The person who deserves this is me.
But Rita's time with the Doom Patrol changes that. When Niles Calder is kidnapped, she reluctantly follows the team to the ends of the earth and even takes a hand in preventing the apocalypse. By Season 2, Rita's found a new life outside of stardom as a hero known as...
The Beekeeper.
Well, she's getting there anyway. Cliff, Vic, and Rita all act as avatars for people living with physical disabilities, and are constantly attacked by forces like the Bureau of Normalcy, who try to stomp out what they see as abnormal. And yet, the group's members find community in one another, not only standing up to these figures, but dismantling the systems that discriminate against them. Of course, not all members of the Doom Patrol represent those with physical disabilities. While the other members are loners trying to find community, Kay Chalice, aka Jane, is overwhelmed by the amount of voices in her head, each jockeying to become her primary persona. This situation leaves Jane standoffish and distrustful of others, and is only made worse when she discovers Niles' plans to send her to live with the first Doom Patrol, who Calder viewed as a group of lost causes.
They became a danger to themselves and to others.
So this was never a school.
It was a safe place for these folks to rest.
It's clear that Jane wants nothing more than to escape this situation. So, when she's presented with a drug that dulls the rest of her personas, she takes it, reveling in the new sense of peace she's found. Unfortunately, that peace doesn't last. When her dosages finally run out, Jane returns to the underground of her mind to discover everything has shifted. Other personas, who represent parts of Kay's mind, have started to vanish, and a domineering persona named Miranda has slowly taken over Jane's role. At first, it seems like a positive change. Miranda's more open and supportive, and emphasizes more constructive methods for the team to use. But when we get a flashback into Jane's past, we see the grim truth behind Miranda's happy image. Throughout the 70s, Miranda tried coercing the other personas into starting a relationship, one that ultimately turned toxic. It's the trauma that resulted from this that created Jane, the part of Kay's mind dedicated to protecting her above anything else.
You knew when you planned this little party. You knew you'd have to push this on Miranda, and you knew exactly how to do it.
You do need help. Better than I can give you. Because you're crazy, Miranda!
You want crazy? Here's crazy. And my name is Jane.
Jane will never lead a normal life, but if this scene demonstrates anything, it's that normal is not the same as healthy, especially when someone else is defining it for you. Unfortunately, the show's second season was forced to end early, so odds are we won't see a resolution to Jane's arc for some time. But if it takes any pointers from the comics, her journey will ultimately be a positive one. And speaking of positivity, let's talk about the member of this group who needs it the most.
Larry!
Don't.
Larry!
Larry Trainor, aka the Negative Man, is the one member who fights the hardest to regain the normalcy that he's lost. Maybe because he can't recognize that normal life for the lie that it is.
Gerald! He was caught playing doctor with Benjamin Quincy behind the swing sets.
I swear, if that woman accuses my son of being a queer, I'm...
Please, you know it's true. And now your son is going to cost us our standing at school, at church.
Growing up as a closeted gay man in the mid-20th century, Larry was othered and rejected by nearly everyone around him, forcing him to suppress his own feelings and create a false identity that embodied the American ideal. He got married and had children, all the while keeping his true self a secret. Not surprisingly, Larry came to internalize the hostility the world leveled at him, something externalized when he's paired with the negative spirit. The more Larry tries to push it down or ignore it, the more the spirit taunts him with visions of his past and the people he's hurt by living a double life. In essence, the spirit is a symbol for Larry's true identity, pushing back against the one he's constructed for himself. He might try to run from it or bury it, but the only way he can find peace is acknowledging and embracing it.
There you go, buddy. We can do this.
Oddly, Larry doesn't gain this epiphany with the help of the other members, not technically anyway. While the Doom Patrol becomes a found family for him, Larry mostly keeps to himself until... In Danny Patrol, we're introduced to two massively important figures in Larry's journey: the zealous, repressive Bureau of Normalcy, and Danny, a living community made up of society's outcasts. While I wouldn't call something like a sentient teleporting street a grounded concept, Danny's character taps into plenty of real-world experiences, specifically from the LGBTQ community. Pledging to save as many of the world's misfits as they can carry, Danny becomes an embodiment of every safe haven the queer community builds for itself, celebrating what makes them different while hiding in plain sight from the Bureau's raids. One member of the community, going by the name
Morally corrupt,
acts as a kind of parallel to Larry's story. In her past life, Maura worked for the Bureau, actively suppressing her identity as a trans woman by hunting down oddities that interfered with the normal world. While not very subtle, this metaphor is incredibly effective. The Bureau isn't fighting for peace or order, it's fighting to maintain what's normal, or what it believes is normal, and it will maintain the status quo with violence if need be. Counter to this is Danny, who acts as a living safe haven for anyone othered by the outside world. It's Danny who actually helps Maura break her ties with the Bureau and encourages her to embrace her true self.
I was supposed to hate this place. Working for the Bureau, you're supposed to hate anything that's abnormal. But I couldn't. Something about Danny felt right. Felt like home. A weight had been lifted off me. Like I was more myself than I had ever been.
Likewise, Danny gives Larry a sense of community he's never felt before. And while he isn't as openly expressive as Maura is...
I don't sing.
Larry's newfound sense of community lets him confront the Bureau and his own fear of being othered.
You go back to the Bureau and you tell them Danny the Street is off limits.
Maybe I'll put you on the list instead.
Tell them Captain Trainor sends his best.
From this moment on, we see Larry try to take a more active part in his life, attempting to reconcile with his loved ones and communicate with the spirit living within him. Of course, this change isn't one-to-one, and Larry still encounters a lot of heartbreak and loss after this. He hasn't returned to normal, but he's achieved something far better. He's let himself become vulnerable again, finding new friends, a new family, and even a community where he can be himself for the first time in his life.
Was that bad? Oh.
So, what does this all mean? It means I'm incredibly thankful for a show like Doom Patrol, and the heartfelt comics that inspired it. Through its extremely nuanced characters, the show does so much more than give lip service to people living with disabilities or struggling with mental health. It puts representation at the forefront of its story, insisting that not just in Doom Manor, but everywhere in this big, beautiful world are people who are different from us. While the show starts with clear definitions of normal and abnormal, that line begins to blur as we learn to empathize with these characters and the connections they build with each other. What was once strange and scary becomes welcoming, and this band of misfits transform into the superheroes they were all meant to be. So to the actors, crew, and creators who made this beautiful show possible, I want to say thank you. Thank you for giving us these stories, these characters, and through them, teaching us all an important lesson. There is no normal, and there shouldn't have to be.
Let's spread our message far and wide. Let's breathe life into the misfits, the forgotten ones, the outsiders.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching my submission for Praise Patrol. Like I mentioned earlier, this video is part of a collab with some of my fellow YouTubers, but it's open to everyone, so contact Cole from Critical Rants if you want to submit your own video. After this, I'm back to my regular fare, so until then, stay home, stay healthy, and look out for your fellow geeks.